I am frustrated. I am let down. I'm doing my first official album review for the new Behemoth album, Opus Contra Natvram. I don't know. Uh, I know that the format here is a little unprofessional. It's lazy. It's the best I have right now. So I'm sorry. But the Polish extreme metal band Behemoth has been one of my favorite bands for a long time. I have a love for the early black metal days with In the Forest Dream Eternally being one of the best EPs in all of metal, not just black metal, metal in general. And I have a love for all of the death metal era Behemoth from Satanica all the way to Evangelion, with Demigod and the Apostasy probably being my personal favorites from that era. I also really liked The Satanist. It's a lot of people's favorite Behemoth album, and I quite like it a lot. I'd rank Forest, Stormy Near the Baltic, and Grom above it. I was not a fan of I Loved You at Your Darkest, which was their release before this new one. Actually, as a matter of fact, I hated I Loved You at Your Darkest. It, I didn't like a single song on it. With Opus Contra Natvram, I didn't entirely hate this album. I'm just frustrated to all hell with it. That's the main adjective to describe this album is frustrating. Does it have some good qualities? Sure. I do really like how the bass isn't lost in the mix totally. I always appreciate, good bass tone and whatnot. I think Nergal's vocals are tight as always. He's always been one of my favorite vocalists in metal. It has a couple standout tracks on it as well. The Deathless Sun, Disinheritance, and I think the last one that I liked on here was Valeria Vulgata, if if I'm pronouncing it right. Those were some pretty cool tracks. I really enjoyed the brutality of The Deathless Sun. That song felt like it had some traces of old Behemoth, especially from the Evangelion album. It had a nice dark atmosphere, and I had no complaints with that song whatsoever. The rest of the album, however, feels dull, lifeless, and uninspired. And that's what this band has ultimately become. This band feels more like a corporation nowadays with all the stuff they sell. That's just my personal opinion. I really hate that one of my favorite bands of all time has become this. I thought I Loved You at Your Darkest was the low point for this band. And I know a lot of people like that album. I was not a fan of it. I thought that it was just the Satanist 2.0, but not as good. And you could argue that this new album is the Satanist Part 3, but slightly better than Part 2, but not there. I just, man, I'm just disappointed. I don't know what to say. I thought that I Loved You at Your Darkest was the low point, and the only place we had to go from there was up for me. And we did slightly. I can commend Behemoth for one thing lately, though, nonetheless, that even though they've become mainstream, they still haven't abandoned their hatred of Catholicism. I can respect that. But the lyricism on this album feels like it was written by an angsty 15-year-old. I should know. I was an angsty 15-year-old once. A lot of us were. Admit it. I think my biggest mistake going into this album was for it to be a complete 180 from I Loved You at Your Darkest. It wasn't that. It was about a 90-degree angle from that. I don't know. I don't know how to really describe it. I don't think that analogy even works. I'm so frustrated. I can't even come up with proper analogies. Um, I listened to it 2 times today. I listened to it once yesterday. I listened to it a few different times for my review, and I just wanted something more inspired. The album to me just it felt like it had no direction. After the intro, what was called Post God Nirvana, the album feels like it just doesn't know where to go after that. It doesn't feel like it knows what to do with itself for 45 minutes. all in all, the album was a bit of a mixed bag. It had a couple things I liked about it, but I lean more negative on this album. I'm still a Behemoth fan at heart. I'm always going to love their old stuff. And I am just not liking the direction of the band. But they're going to do what's financially lucrative to them. And that's perfectly fine. I get it. Music is more like a business, especially in the mainstream. I man, it was so frustrating. There were so many elements of this album that there was shades of greatness on this album, just overshadowed by mediocre songwriting. And I just can't. It's hard for me because I'm a fan of this band. Like I'm man, oh man, oh man, this was a really frustrating one. If I had to give it a score, God, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this for this album. I'm gonna have to give it a 4.5 out of 10. It had some great stuff on it. It didn't even get to average. It was very below average to me with shades of greatness in it. That's what's so frustrating about it. Oh man, but I hope you guys enjoyed and liked the video. See me get frustrated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure that like and subscribe button, and I'm out. Peace.